So here we are in our last video for 2020. 2020 has been a bit of a different year. However, these videos that are going out through our blog and being posted up on YouTube, I think it's going pretty well. Lots of people are watching them, sharing them, commenting on them, learning from them. So the hope is we can continue this on throughout 2021 as well. Now, I don't do this very much, but every so often I like to stick this into videos just as a little reminder. If you are watching us over on the blog and you aren't getting notifications through email, be sure to sign up. Just enter your email address in this box and click on sign up. If you are watching these on YouTube and you're not part of the 23% that's subscribed, consider subscribing and clicking on the bell notification beside it so you're notified when we upload videos. Also, if you're finding the information in these videos useful, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Click the little button that's got the thumbs up. And also, don't be afraid to leave a comment. So all these little things, as minute as they sound, they really help the channel out, help the channel grow, so that we can get these videos out to more people who want to learn about Mastercam. So now that part's out of the way and done with, let's actually hop into this video. And today we're talking levels, and we're talking everything about levels you ever wanted to know and more. Using levels in Mastercam allows us to put certain objects onto specific levels and then either turn the visibility of those levels on or off. Now that's the simple version of what levels are, and let's dig into more of these settings here and we'll be able to see the advanced functions that you can perform with levels. So basically what you can see right now is I've got 3 levels, level number 1, level number 10, and level number 20. You'll see the green check. That means that is the active level. And what active level means is anything that I create in the graphic screen at this time will be placed onto the active level. We also have a visible column here, and then there will either be an X or no X. So the X basically means that level is in fact visible. So here I can turn off the visibility of my solid, which is my part, and I can turn off the visibility of my vise. So these parts and pieces are not deleted from the file, they're just not visible at this time. With your levels as well, you can name your levels. You don't have to give them names, although you can. What you name them is completely up to you. You can name them numbers, you can name them words, whatever makes sense. With our levels, especially when you start getting into a lot of different levels, there might be some levels that are relative to each other, and maybe you kind of want to group them together. That's what this level set can do here. So with that, let's say I want to have my wireframe. We'll call this part, and my solid, I'll call this part as well. So what I can do for these is just double click in the level set to edit, or with the level selected, I can come down here and insert a name for the level set. Now you can insert names, you can insert numbers, but what this does is it allows you to associate these levels together and turn them off or hide them together. So what I'm going to do is right click here, and down in this menu you can see there's a level set on or off. And let me just click on level set off. So basically anything in this level set called part would be turned off. Same thing when I right click on it and say all levels set on. Anything in this level set will be turned on as far as visibility goes. Entities over here tells you how many entities there are on each level. So on level 1, I've got 28 entities. That could be anything from a spline to a line to an arc to a solid or a surface. It counts them all each individually. As I create something new, so notice right now on level 1 I've got 28 entities. If I come and make a point on level 1, notice now I've got 28, and you'll see if I delete that point, I've now got 28, or had 29 and was reduced down to 28. So that covers what each column is. If you want to change the main or active level, you can just click in this number column. It will move the green check to wherever you want that active level to be. If you want to create a new level, you can click on the plus button, add new level. It will by default go to the next numbered level. You don't have to accept this numbered level, number 2. I can double click in here. I can change this number to whatever I want. Okay, and by default, this new level is in fact the active level. You can go ahead and name this whatever you would like. Set it to a level set if necessary. And what you can also do is delete this level. So there's nothing on this level. I don't need it. I want to get rid of it. However, if I right click on this right now and come down to clear empty levels and selected, I cannot delete this level. because it is the active level. So if you're trying to delete any levels, make sure it's not the active level. So now I can select this, right click, clear empty levels, and the selected level. So that gets rid of that level now. So keep that in mind, you cannot delete the active level. So let's go through some of these buttons up top here and see what they do. This magnifying glass is for searching. So what I can do with this, if you had a lot of geometry on screen, a lot of different levels, and you didn't know which level a certain piece of geometry was on, I can click on, say, this screw, and it will activate it as the main level. So that solid model I just clicked on is in fact on level 20. I can turn off the visibility of those, and you see it's still visible on level 20. Next one over, turns all levels on. All my levels are already on, so that's not going to do anything, but the button beside it, turn all levels off. You can see that obviously it turns everything off, and now my on button will actually do something and turns everything back on. There's also some extra functionality in this level on and level off buttons, and let's say that I had levels 1 and 10 visible and level 20 was turned off. When I click turn all levels on, obviously it's going to turn that remaining level back on. If I click it a second time, it will revert back to that previous state. The same thing happens with the turn all levels off button. If right now I click turn all levels off, it will turn everything off. If I click that same button again, it will go back to the state that it was previous. Reset all levels. This will reset the level visibility state to what it was when you opened the file. So whatever state these levels were in when you first opened it up will be stored, and the reset will take you back to that. Hide level properties. All this information down at the bottom that you're seeing, those are level properties. You can toggle that on or off. In the settings here, this is where we've got some rules that we can either enable or disable. For example, active level is always visible. So right now that's unchecked. So right now I can have level 1 as my active level, and I can also have it hidden. With this one checked, no matter which level is active, it will automatically be turned on as visible. We also have the option here, only the active level is visible. So as I change my active level, everything else is hidden. Keep in mind, if I manually go and turn another level on, that rule will automatically be turned off. Notice it's now deactivated. So if you are bopping around and you turn another level on, that rule will be turned off. Arrow keys select active level. So I'll leave it off for now. And with my arrow keys up and down, I'm just moving levels. If I turn that one on, arrow keys set active level. As I arrow up and down, it will set my active level. Ignore blanked entity counts. When this is turned on, so on level with my vise over here, right now it says that there's 13 entities. If I blank something, let's go and blank, say my soft jaws here or my hard jaws. Okay, so they're hidden. So that entity is now hidden as being counted because it's hidden. With this unchecked, it still counts that hidden entity even though it's not currently visible. Lastly, contrast rows just gives you white, gray, toggling between the rows to make it a little more easier to see or distinguish between the individual rows. Help button, click on that. It gives you extra information about all the functions in the Levels Manager. And a couple more things we should touch on here. So let's look into some of the right-click options. So I'll right-click anywhere in the Levels Manager here. And some of these are redundant, as in we've already gone through using them on the interface itself. So we've got Make Active. So if I obviously select level 10 and click Make Active, it's going to move that green arrow. So we can click over here and move the active level, or we can select a level and use the right-click Make Active. Same for Renumber. If we select that, we can update this number, or we can just simply double-click on the number itself and type in the number we want to change it to. So I can change it to 21, and it won't affect anything on that. It just moves everything over to that new level. Select all entities will select everything on the currently selected level. So this one, my vise, has got all these solids, so they're all selected. And on the flip side, obviously, we can do an unselect. So a scenario where something like that could be useful, let's say I had selected my solid and said I had selected several lines, wireframe lines. Now I know all the wireframe geometry is on our wire level, so if I wanted to unselect this wireframe geometry quickly, and if it was somehow difficult to get at, this function can come in useful where I select level 1, which is the wire, and come in and unselect all of the entities that are on that level. So there you can see I've quickly unselected my wireframe geometry, which is on a different level than the selected solid. Another duplicate command here will be the toggle visibility. So with the one level selected, I can come in and toggle visibility. Obviously, it turns the visibility of that off. Now, this is my main level. Again, keeping in mind, I've disabled that active level visible rule. So clicking on beside the X here is the same as selecting a level and toggling the visibility. The benefit of this right-click option is we can select multiple levels and turn them off simultaneously. Next up, let's look at the cut, copy, paste, and delete options. So for this, I'm going to make a new level, make this level 50, give this a name as just simply 1, and I'm going to create a circle on this level. So there's a circle, one entity on level 50. I'm going to make a new level. Let's go with 51, and I'll call this 2. Okay, so now I've got one level with one thing on it and one with nothing. So I'm going to left click and select level 50, right click and select copy, and then I can go to level 51, select it, right click and click paste. So obviously I've duplicated and copied that circle. So I can turn off level 50 or turn off its visibility, and that circle is still there. That's the new circle on level 50. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that one this time. It's delete. You can see that did disappear from the entity count. Let's turn 50 back on. This time I'm going to right click and select cut. Notice it has not left level 50 yet. I can select 51, right click, and now do the paste, and notice it's now moved from 50 to 51. So it's not been copied, it's actually been moved. And then the last option here, so level 51, I'm going to select it, right click, and come down to delete entities. So anything on that selected level will be deleted. Absolutely everything. So keep that in mind when you're using delete entities. Everything on the selected level will be deleted. And especially if you have multiple levels selected, anything on either of these selected levels will be deleted. Now, if you do mistakenly delete some things, keep in mind our undo button will save you and it will bring back the deleted entities. So next up on our right-click list is refresh level list. Now, getting into this one, I think this plays well and nicely into describing the display options down here. So we'll go through this refresh level as we go through this display option down here. So right now I've currently got level 50 and 51 as my new levels. They both have names, and level 51 has an entity. I'm going to right now get rid of the name of level 51. Okay, so I have an unnamed level 51 with an entity, a named level 50 with no entities. Right now, currently down at the bottom here in the display options, currently used or named is checked off. So any level that is either used or named will show up in my level list. Okay, if I switch this over to used, notice level 50 has in fact disappeared. Let me bring both of them back again. So level 50, it's not used because there's no entities on it. If I switch this over to named, I need to move, before this is going to work, I need to move my active level up to something else. Let's go to 51. So right now I've got named selected, so only levels with a name should be showing. However, notice 51 is still showing up here. So that's because I've made a change here kind of midway through my display option. And this is where that refresh level list will come in handy. So when I refresh now, notice 51 has disappeared. So basically I made a change to the display status of something up here and it didn't propagate right away. So that's where this refresh level list is going to come in handy. If you've made changes to how things are displayed or shown, you might need to force a refresh. Sometimes even just switching back and forth between another manager and back to levels manager will also perform that refresh. But then back to the main point, why did that level disappear? Because it is not named. So level 51, let's bring it back here again. It is used, however, it's not named. So when I select only named levels, it disappears. So then let's look at the last option, which is range. When we check that box, it will show every level between level 1 and whatever number you have selected over here in your list. This can be, doesn't have to start at 1. It can start at 2, it can start at 20, and go up to basically the maximum number of levels allowed in Mastercam, which I think is something like 2,147,483,647. I think that was right. It's tough to read without commas in there, but way more levels than you would probably ever need. And I wouldn't suggest turning that many levels on to be displayed. It might take a while for Mastercam to actually show that many levels. Okay, so let's switch this back to used or named. So we get basically anything that has a name or an entity on it being shown. And we'll look at the next option in our right-click menu, which is the Clear Empty Levels option. So Clear Empty Levels, notice it doesn't say delete a level. You're not really deleting the level. You're more or less getting rid of its ability to be displayed or shown in your list. So currently right now, level 50 would be considered empty. There's no entities on it, so it's in fact empty. So if I right-click anywhere in here and just select Clear Empty Levels All, notice level 50 is now not displayed. So it's been cleared, basically cut out from our list. It's not now used or named. It's not used because nothing was on it to start with, and the name has been cleared, so it's now not being displayed in our list. Again, if you checked range, level 50 would still in fact be there, just it's not visible right now in the list. So next up in our right-click list is report. So I've got level 1 selected, and with this report, we've got the option for either selected levels, visible levels, or simply all levels. So I'm going to go with the selected level here, and we get a prompt here to make the report only on visible entities. I'm going to go with yes. So the generated report will open up in Code Expert, and there is the information about level 1. So it's a wire. It's called wire. There's 28 entities. There's 4 points, 8 lines, 16 arcs, etc., etc. So last one up in our right-click menu is the import and export of named levels. So first up, what we're going to do is we're going to export these levels, have a look at the file that gets generated, and then see how we can adjust that, and then we'll go through re-importing. So before we export, make note of the numbered levels here, 1, 10, 20, and 51, and their names, wire, solid, vise, nothing, and the level set, which is part, and nothing, and nothing. So I'm going to go ahead and export these. I'm just going to save these in my part folder right here. The name here is fine. I don't need a different name, but if you wanted to name this something specific, obviously you would set that now. I'll click save. And notice that was a CSV file. So if I bring in my Windows Explorer, there's the file that was created. We can view this in Excel if we want, but this is just a text file. We can open this with any text editor, and I'll open this up with something simple like Notepad. So here in Notepad is the file that got created. So a few things to point out. Notice our level numbers, 1, 10, 20. Notice the names, wire, solid, and vise, and level sets, part, and nothing. Notice, however, we do not have level 51 is being generated. Level 51 did not have a name, so it's not getting output. It's not getting created. So that's something to keep in mind if you're trying to export specific levels is they need to have a name. Okay, so we can fix that. If we, in fact, wanted level 51 to come through in this file, we can add to this list. Let's go 51, comma, so no space, and we'll just call this level test. And we do need to put a comma in here and leave this next part blank, and that would be our level set that it belonged to. We can put something in here just to see what comes through. We can put in set 1, okay, and we'll do a file save. So our exported named levels set has been updated. So now with that, we can actually import these levels back into our Mastercam file. So let's go ahead and get rid of level 51 altogether. So there's an entity on it. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. Notice the level is not being displayed anymore. And let's go ahead and right click and do import named levels. And we browse to that same location that we saved our file to. So there it is right there. I'm going to click open. And notice now we've got our new levels. There's level 51, it's named test, it's named set 1. These levels already existed, so obviously they weren't overwritten. But if we did have a new Mastercam file, and here we are in that new Mastercam file, if we do the import named levels, and again, import that same file, we get all of those levels brought in. So nothing was here to begin with, so they have all been created. And one last option for importing these files, instead of doing the right click and import, you can drag and drop from your Windows Explorer. So this is the CSV file. I can drag this and drop it directly onto the Levels Manager, and those levels will be imported. And that's going to be a wrap on this video that covered everything you ever wanted to know about levels and more.